T-minus 60 seconds and counting. We passed T-minus 60. 55 seconds and counting. Neil Armstrong just reported back. It's been a real smooth countdown. We passed the 50-second mark. Power transfer is complete. We're on internal power with the launch vehicle at this time. 40 seconds away from the Apollo 11 liftoff. All the second stage tanks now pressurized. 35 seconds and counting. We are still go with Apollo 11. 30 seconds and counting. Astronauts report it feels good. T-minus 25 seconds. 20 seconds and counting. T-minus 15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff, 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Power clear.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the Bullpen. As always, I am James Roy, and with me is Tom Chavarria. Tom, how are you doing?
Man, I'm on cloud nine. I cannot wait. Tomorrow, thanks to the one and only James Roy, I'm getting to attend Texans training camp tomorrow. Super psyched. Don't know how I'm supposed to sleep tonight. It's like first day of school, only I'm not in school anymore. So I'm pretty excited, looking forward to it. Ready to talk Texans football.
Awesome. I'm glad that we got that set up, and I can't wait to hear what you have to say. And I didn't know it at the time, but those tickets are tomorrow's Cal's Cookout. So I don't know that. Do you get a burger from Cal if you go on the day that Cal cooks out?
I wonder how long you got to be like. I mean, I imagine the line is long, just to be within, feet of the man that is the owner of the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, the hype is there. Like a lot of people that I know that have done it said that it tastes good, but I forgot about. It's one of those things about like the Texans that it's just not at the forefront of my mind. So like I know that it happens, but until they posted about it, I was like not thinking about it. So I'm glad that you get to go see that. Let's kick it off with this. Brevin Jordan out for the season. Unfortunate situation. A player who feels like he was very vital to the offense. Already missed a lot last season when he went down against the Bears, and now he's already down for the whole season before it even starts. What do you have to say about that, and how do you feel about what the Texans have done in the since then to address the tight end position?
I mean, first and foremost, I feel horrible for Brevin Jordan. Here's a guy that had an elite playoff moment, was an ascending young talent. This guy was going to be the next tight end of the future for the Houston Texans. Can't tell me otherwise. I think the fan base felt that way. I know I felt that way. He showed that he could block, showed that he could catch. I mean, he was very dynamic. I thought this was the home run hit that they needed to complement Dalton Schultz. Dalton Schultz a great pass catcher, but you need a guy that's like that. Does all the dirty work. I felt like Brevin Jordan was going to be that. That being said, I think the Texans have done a really good job of acquiring talent so that it's not just about Brevin Jordan. I know at the time people thought, well, they could still go out and get guys. I know that they've had different people not named Cade Stover that were, available to them that they could use. And people were like, well, they could cut Brevin or, they could do this or that to bring in another tight end. I really think Nick Caserio is a wizard. And if he thinks they need another tight end, he'll get one.
Yeah, they went out and got Trey McKitty, former third-round pick from the Chargers. And then they had initially signed Dalton Keene, but then they put him on IR, and he's coming off an ACL injury, so I'm pretty sure it's to start the season. But already like not ideal because I think a lot of people, myself included, viewed Brevin Jordan as tight end too. I think that Cade Stover has a lot of upside, so I don't think where you miss him is in the fact that you don't have a tight end who can play the tight end 2 role. but I think that the specific skill set that Brevin Jordan brings to the table, it benefits specifically CJ Stroud. Now, what one silver lining to me is that with Nick Caley being a tight ends coach, coming in and bringing in a different scheme, a lot of the reasons why Brevin Jordan was missed last season, I think, I don't want to say go away, but I think we'll have a coordinator who's more willing to work around the skill set that he has in that room. Another point to be brought up, Luke Lachey, I believe that's how you say his last name, tight end, drafted out of Iowa, in line to get somewhat more playtime if he can take it. And you know how those Iowa tight ends do, so I think that it's not the worst possible thing that could have happened to the Texans, but it's not ideal. Speaking in the same vein of injuries, Cam Robinson has suited up during walkthroughs today, but is still not participated full blown in a practice. How do you feel about the prospect of Cam Robinson maybe not being ready? Do you think that's really a huge possibility? Or I feel like with the way the Texans handle things, it could go either way. And then on top of that, how do you feel about the Texans offensive line without him?
I really think that Cam Robinson is a different thing altogether. Like you spoke to, he could be ready. I really feel like there are more options on the offensive line than there are in the tight end room. You talked about Trey McKinney. I don't feel like he's anything more than a camp body. I don't see a scenario where he makes the roster, where there was no question Brevin was making this roster. Like I really feel like that's probably a bigger blow to the team. Cam Robinson, I really hope, he gets all the way back and we're talking about him week one. But, if you look at some of the guys in the last game that performed well, I know we're going to talk about it, but I think the line's in decent shape. I think there were some holes in the preseason game that they were able to, really, really make some plays. I don't know if you can hear that. It is absolutely coming down out here. I was like, man, I hope I don't lose power because it's like a light show over my left shoulder and it's just thundering.
You remember that one time that I lost power right in the middle of the show?
I do.
That was crazy. I can't believe I managed to get back onto the stream. I didn't think I was going to be able to. But I mean, I agree with you that you transitioned from Brevin Jordan, who was going to make the roster, to Trey McKinney, who really has to beat out someone. I had the thought that maybe the Texans might carry we're probably going to carry 4 tight ends when Brevin Jordan was there. But I think that when you look at it, there's 2 positions that Jacob Johnson can take a spot from, because realistically, most teams don't carry a fullback anymore. So he will be the team's fullback, but realistically, he falls under either running back or tight end. Usually it's like kind of both, but when you're setting up your roster, you're going to carry one less from one of those positions. And in my opinion, it was going to be probably, a tough decision, but now it kind of seems like I could see the Texans going with 3 tight ends and then having Jacob Johnson as their 4th tight end / fullback. So there is, I guess, a silver lining there. And then to speak to Cam Robinson, I mean, I think that Ursary, I don't want to overhype, but we saw a lot of good things from him in a preseason game against what could have and could not have been. It was a little bit of both, the best of the Vikings or the worst. I think he got a couple reps against Dallas Turner and maybe a couple reps against like not their starters, but he held his own. He showed up. The camaraderie that shows up on the left side of the line between him and Laken Tomlinson, there's a lot to like about him playing. And so I think he plays either way. I mean, you can't keep Ursary on the bench at this point. The cat's out of the bag. That guy is starting on one side of the line or the other. It's just a matter of putting him at left tackle where he's more natural versus putting him at right tackle because you've got Cam Robinson and Titus Howard-Ships in. And I think that's why, to revisit a point that I've made before, the Texans said that Titus Howard was their left tackle when they traded Laramie Tunsil, and then they added Cam Robinson. Maybe that move was because they wanted a veteran in case Ursary wasn't ready to play left tackle, but that they liked him better at left tackle anyways. And so maybe the plan was never to put, I go back to that comment, and I maybe I'm making too much of it, but the report that he was going to be their left tackle to me was was crazy at the time. I mean, I love him as a tackle, but it would have been great money wise. Anyway, I'm rambling now. I think that tackle is one of the positions the Texans can afford a loss at. So as long as it's the right player, right? I think Cam Robinson is one of those players at tackle that if the Texans are without him, they can make up for it. I don't think they have unlimited resources at the position. I don't think they can take an onslaught or a couple of body bag games and keep going. But I think that as it stands, and I've talked about this before, Cam Robinson is on a 1 year, $13 million deal. And everyone's big question is are you going to pay $13 million to a swing tackle? And looking at the money, you could free up some cap space by just cutting him. I mean, so it's a 1 year deal. I'm not, and I've said this before, I probably should do my research, but I'll clarify. I hadn't read his contract and I don't know every in and out of it, but just looking it over the cap, it doesn't seem like it's one that's insanely difficult to get out of. The Texans have brought in more tackles. I think they have better options for swing tackle. So if Cam Robinson is injured and enters the season on the bench, I could see a situation where maybe they keep him, but I could also see it going just as plainly in the other direction, where they decide to move on from him because they like what they have and they realize that they don't need to be paying $13 million for what will ultimately amount to a swing tackle. So I don't know. It looked like you had something to say there, Tom. Did you have something to say to that?
I can't see a team that struggled to keep enough healthy bodies on the offensive line just cut a guy who over the money. You know what I mean? I don't feel like they're so capped, constrained that they're going to go, oh, we need this $13 million and we just can't afford to just have this guy on the roster. So let's cut him. I get, if there's another move to be made, if there's another guy out there you want to get, say there's a tight end you want to go pay or a safety, something like that. But for me, I think the Texans are probably going to keep as many of these guys around because injuries happen. We've seen it, and it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them.
100%. With that, and a lot of this episode is going to be injuries. There's just so many of them to go through. So CJ Gardner-Johnson obviously was kind of a scare. Torn ACL, it's not a torn ACL. But it brings up a valid point, which is that while the safety position for the Texans is strong at the surface, immediately my first question once that news broke at first before they clarified that it wasn't torn was who is going to play safety for the Texans that I can trust to actually do a good job of it. The depth at that position I think is a little concerning, and for all we know, this could be. We had this discussion about linebacker last year, but going in with that injury, my thought was if I see a secondary trot out onto the field that is to start the game, which is Kalen Bullock and MJ Stewart, I might lose my marbles. Maybe not all of them, but most of them. So I liked what they did after that, and this obviously could be a move that's anticipated to help week 1 through 3. As you know, they're saying he could be back week 1. Big Sarge had clarified that they might hold him till week 3. It really depends on him and how his recovery from this injury goes. But signing Jalen Mills and getting that depth, I think was a good move. But how do you feel about the Texans at the safety position? Do you think I'm overreacting, or do you think it's a valid concern?
I think until we see it, I really think their defense is going to be so damn good. They've got so much talent everywhere. Most teams are not going to be able to field a defense with all the skill positions that the Texans have. They're going to have guys in their defense somewhere where you're like, well, man, I hope they can hide him. I hope, he plays well. I hope he doesn't make a big mistake that costs him a game. Our issue now is Kalen Bullock and MJ Stewart going to be enough? And I could see the fear there. Kalen Bullock had a lot of interceptions, really good young guy. I forget, was it Ryan Clark on his podcast where he was talking to CJ Gardner-Johnson, where he was talking about all the different guys, and he was like, yeah, Bullock's a monster, they've got so much talent. I'm not really worried about, one position not being elite because a lot of them are elite.
I feel you on that. I mean, for me, the bigger question on top of that, like I really like what Kalen Bullock did in his rookie season, and I think that he has certainly made his case for he's already got the attention of a lot of national media. There's a lot of people that have him on the could be a breakout star this year, but that to me is what's concerning about the safety position is that unless it's I don't want to even say it that way. I'm going to rephrase because I don't want to have to knock on wood. But in this situation where CJ Gardner-Johnson it misses a week, we now have to rely on a safety that is not CJ Gardner-Johnson to play. Rather, it's Jimmy Ward, who is in legal troubles and may not be able to play, and then MJ Stewart. The depth is just not screaming, "I'm ready to be a starter." For this Texans defense. And like you said, this is a stacked Texans defense, so it's not like one of those players being a little less than elite is going to significantly impact it. But I look at that, and basically what it comes down to is that it's one player that I don't trust, and then it's Kalen Bullock, who needs to actually have a breakout season and carry forward what he did last year into this year. There's been many a players that could do it for one season. It's tough being in the NFL and doing it year after year. So like I said, love what Kalen Bullock did, and I think he can do it again. I have a lot of confidence in that, but it is still yet to be seen. And so I think that's at least part of the reason why the CJ Gardner-Johnson injury was a little bit of a wake-up call for me in how I viewed the safety room. And Alberto here in the chat here, I'll put it up on this screen, brings up a point that they could switch Petrie back to safety. The question is, and so I'll give my background and clarification before I ask your opinion, as you know, I'm more than comfortable doing. Jalen Petrie has shown really well at star safety. As much as I've come around to Jalen Petrie, you have to understand his rookie season was really good because he got a lot of tackles because the defense was not stopping anyone. So a lot of those stops happened at the second level. That padded his stats. The second season, he was asked to play pure safety, and he did not do well. Jalen Petrie was not awful by any stretch, but he was not a good safety, and was he was okay at best. And so this past season, one of the reasons why Jalen Petrie earned his extension was the shift to star safety. This is a similar question to if you want to play Titus Howard at right guard, or if you want to shift him out to tackle if there's an injury at tackle. And they've answered that question. They think that Titus Howard is their best option at guard until one of the tackles goes down. So the question is, do the Texans think that Jalen Petrie is their best option at star safety? Do they think that Miles Bryant steps up and plays the nickel/star safety role well enough that Jalen Petrie could play safety? Do they think that Jalen Petrie can fit in as a pure safety and actually make a more significant contribution than one of the other safeties on the roster? As much as I just talked down on, MJ Stewart, and I didn't talk down on Jalen Mills, but there are other guys I think that I would rather have at safety to have Jalen Petrie at star safety, because one, I don't think Jalen Petrie's downfall in his second season was playing safety and the coverage that he provided. And one of his biggest pitfalls as the star safety is that while he is stronger in coverage than your average linebacker, he does have a tendency to get, if there's a really good route runner paired against him and he's in pure coverage, it's not the strongest odds that he comes through. He's a hard-nosed bruiser. He'll get down in the box and do his thing. And he more leans into the linebacker aspect of being a star safety in that spot. So, Tom, what are your thoughts on the possibility of bumping Jalen Petrie back out to safety for that stretch?
I don't see it. I really don't see D'Amico moving a guy from a place where he's strong to a place that he's not necessarily weak, but not his strength. I think D'Amico's done a really good job of playing people to their strengths, that trying to get the most out of people. And I think it'd be foolish for him to now move Jalen Petrie back to somewhere where you can clearly tell he actually relishes the opportunity to play this star safety role, this third nickel linebacker, however you want to phrase it. The guy I'm looking at, the guy that I think probably slides in there, and you're gonna probably be like, well, he's a rookie, is Jalen Reed. I think we saw Kalen Bullock as a rookie, and he showed in preseason training camp that he could hold his own. There were going to be mistakes, but you were going to live with them. You were going to let him grow. I could see Jalen Reed being a guy that could also like grow into that role and maybe, be allowed to make some mistakes on a defense that's going to be really good.
Yeah, and Jalen Reed is also an option we haven't talked about. I believe the way it was said by Aaron Wilson is he's injured for 3 weeks, which means that I think he's going to miss most of the preseason. But he is an option that would be ready. And as I've expressed to you in some way, whether it was straightforward or passively, the younger player is always the better option, in my opinion, if he can perform at that level, because it means that you've done something good drafting. You now have options that are not going to leave the roster immediately because you sign a lot of players to 1-year deals that are older players. So getting your best out of a player who's under contract for a lot of years, who is young, who can have that time to earn his keep and will obviously earn a better contract, earn that big deal by playing well for you, but he'll do it over time instead of just playing one really good season and go. Like I think back to like Blake Cashman. I think back to I know Jonathan Grenard was drafted by us, but like him when D'Amico came in, being on the last year of his contract, obviously between him and Will Anderson Jr., I was kind of hoping Will Anderson Jr. would be the better player because the Texans had a lot more team control. He's the younger guy. So, I mean, yeah, Jalen Reed to me, I'm not sure. I know that the name of the game in this draft and really for the Texans in a lot of ways since Nick Caserio took over has been versatility. So I know Jalen Smith, I believe, has flexibility from DB just in general. But I'm not fully sure if that's the case. He might just be a corner. But him out of USC, I might have that mixed up. There's so many Jalen's on this team that I'm honestly at a loss for who's who. But they drafted DBs out of Penn State and USC, and I believe both of them have positional versatility to potentially fill this void, but I'm not super sure on that. But yeah, so I mean, the whole injury thing to me has revealed in my mind, so moving forward, that safety to me is a huge concern, but like another example of a position where the Texans have maybe suffered an injury that I'm not like super concerned about is running back. Joe Mixon could be out for a couple weeks, and honestly, as long as we don't lose another guy, I mean, Woody Marks brings a lot of optimism, a guy coming out that can play third down back, has pass catching ability. And then you've got, Nick Chubb, who at 50% of what he was at his peak is still a really good signing for the Texans and can provide something to this team. And then you got Dameon Pierce, who's been taking reps with the ones alongside Nick Chubb, who also, I think this is his best opportunity to earn a contract, whether it's with the Texans or not. This is his best opportunity to earn his one and only contract extension. So I think that if there's one guy that's really looking to benefit from that, but either way, I think that this Texans team at most positions, like you said, is pretty deep, especially defensively. They're just elite. So like losing one superstar player or another is not always a devastating blow. But if there's one position I'm concerned about, it's safety. How do you feel about the running back room? How do you feel about who's going to get RB1 between Mixon and Pierce?
So I'm really glad you segued that way because it really kind of answers what I feel like how they're going to address both positions we talked about. So running back, I think is going to be a committee thing. I think you're going to get an equal volume share between Woody Marks, Dameon Pierce, Nick Chubb, and whoever wants to single themselves out as the top performer will probably get, a little bit more of the lion's share. I think the safety position could be very similar. You could see Jalen Reed. You could see MJ Stewart. You could see Jalen Mills. Yeah, Jalen Mills. And they'll just see, okay, who's going to perform. And if a guy makes a few plays in the right direction, all right, let's give him a little bit more run and see where it goes. I think they're so talented, the entire roster, so talented that they can afford to kind of just go, okay, we're gonna try this thing out and see what happens. I don't think they're gonna be in a position where they have to like succeed every time out because they're just gonna be in every game. Their defense is gonna keep them in every game. I think CJ calling plays, I think it's gonna be a boost as he gets better at it. The team's just gonna be able to handle, having these committees better than most, because you don't have to be as clean when you have a good all-around team, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, I mean, I agree with you I'm not saying that like the combination of Damian Pierce and Nick Chubb and Woody Marks is going to be like better than Joe Mixon. I'm not trying to say that Joe Mixon won't be missed. Like, obviously, him being on the field, he showed his worth. He last season, every chance he got, he proved that even though Bobby Slowick couldn't call an offense worth anything, that he was talented enough to overcome that. So it's huge that he might not go week 1, but I think the Texans have enough to cover a significant amount, right? It's like I'd equate it to this, right? Like, you ever have like the last $4 on a Chick-fil-A gift card? It's like, it's not enough to buy you a meal at Chick-fil-A, but I'll tell you what, you swipe that card, you're getting a huge discount on your meal. So not huge, but enough. You can cover the difference. And that's what this Texans team is going to do. I love bringing Chick-fil-A into the mix any chance I get. By the way, if Chick-fil-A could go back to using the right, grease for the fries so that they taste better, that'd be really nice. Not that
Here I
they're
was
going to see
thinking you were
this,
going to
but-
ask them to sponsor us, and I was like, please.
Oh, yeah, also sponsor us. Take my feedback. Hey, I can criticize and also praise.
Promote. We can promote. My
how it
son
goes.
would lose his mind if this show was sponsored by Chick-fil-A. So if you're out there, Chick-fil-A,
Man.
would make a young man the happiest guy ever.
You'd see me come on camera. You've seen my hair get longer over the past few weeks. You'd see my body get larger every single week by a significant margin. We were sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
No way. That's the Lord's chicken. Those calories do not count.
Oh, that's true. I might actually lose weight if we got that sponsorship. So let's make it happen. I noticed it's 27 minutes in. We haven't spoken a word about the preseason games themselves. I last season, I know we did previews and recaps in the preseason. I mean, it's like an extension of training camp, in my opinion. So I think this live stream, we kind of can discuss whatever and it be applicable to that. But let's looking back at the game. Who are your big positives and negatives? Let's just do broad strokes from the game against the Vikings.
Well, I guess I'll start with the negatives. That way we can end on a positive. Clearly, Graham Mertz was not the guy, right?
Oh yeah,
it's an Oklahoma quarterback, right? If I'm mistaken,
he's from Florida, and it was funny seeing. I think
didn't he start at Oklahoma and then went to Florida, something like that?
Possibly, I don't know.
I'm looking for as a Longhorn fan with college football right on the horizon. I'm looking for any chance I can to bash Oklahoma. So if I'm able to do it, I'm going to do it.
100%. I mean, I think that pick still puzzles me to this day. I've tried to be optimistic about it, but picking him, there was offensive linemen on the board that have performed really well so far that the Texans could have picked up and they didn't. And so I mean, I don't know. Hate to be that guy, and I hope that Graham Mertz proves me wrong. But man, perplexing pick. Do you have any other negatives, or do you want to get into your positives?
I mean, really, no. He just stood out for me so much so that it's like really hard to really dog anybody else because it was just really bad. Everybody else, obviously there was mistakes made, no question. I feel like, Mills probably didn't look as sharp as we'd like him to look. I know I'm kind of harping on the quarterback position, but I really felt like
Mills looked really good. Mills was really highly rated.
Really? I thought he
was
missed
4
the
or
throws.
5. He had a 147 QB rating.
I thought he missed the throw in there. Maybe that's
His
the one
only
throw
miss
that I
was
saw.
the miss to Stober.
But that was a bad miss.
I think Cecil Shorts. He's him and Seth Payne host the Believe Network Texans show, and Cecil Shorts explained that he thinks that they had different landmarks in mind because the quarterback has a landmark he's looking to that's a landmark route, so he's looking at a specific spot to throw it to, and he thinks that maybe Cade Stover and Davis Mills miscommunicated which landmarks they were looking for. So.
And to be fair, I was in a Vegas casino at the time with an adult beverage in hand. So there's a good chance I saw that laser locked in on it. And I was like, there went a touchdown. So
let's speak to laser locking in on things because my negative is Blake Fisher, but I think it could be just because of the false starts. And I mean, I think that's a valid reason to have, but I don't think he had a bad blocking game overall. He had some bad reps, but overall it wasn't that. It was really literally just that he had false starts. So I don't even really feel the need to elaborate on that. Let's get into the positive.
For me, I mean, obviously the low-hanging fruit is Ariante Ursary. He really has a lot of people, I'm trying to temper that. And I know people don't want to hear it. You see the guy and it's like, oh my God, he's everything we ever wanted. And it's like, yeah, those are the twos. I need to see him do it. I need to see him keep doing it. I need to see him in there with the ones and hold his own. I think he's going to be really good. It's just, I don't want to put I don't want to put him up on a pedestal right now. And the guy's got how many snaps under his belt? You know what I mean? I don't want to make it to where it's like, he didn't play well. What happened? He's a bust. And it's like, man, the guy's a rookie. Relax. He's going to make mistakes too. And then people are going to overreact to them. And I don't want that.
Yeah. I mean, look at Dwayne Brown. That's all I'll say to that. If he has a rough rookie season, he does. I'm not going to hold it against him. And even with Blake Fisher, he had a pretty okay rookie season, I thought, with what was asked of him. And this whole offseason, it feels like it's been a smear campaign against him because he's had a false start issue, which I think is a fresh wound for Texans fans with Laramie Tunsil wrecking entire games with false start penalties. So, I mean, I feel you on that. But if I'm looking for I think that my biggest positive is the offensive scheme and seeing it play out. And so, generally speaking, the offensive line looked really good blocking for the run game. That whole first drive, Dario Gambale couldn't get less than 3 yards if he tried. And if they can run the ball like that, and Mills looked really good throwing, and so did Slovis to some extent. I thought less so than Mills, but if that's any indication of what we're going to see from CJ in this scheme, I think that the NFL is already on notice that the Texans have a top 5 defense. I think that the expectation in order to be a contender for this team is really just a middle of the road offense, not awful, just number 15, 16 in the league. If this is what we're going to get from this offense and this scheme can work this way in a real game, I'd push that closer to top 10, maybe not in it, just closer. And with that, that pushes you closer to serious contention. So I'd give a lot of credit to Kaylee. Interested, I think Landry Locker had asked him the decision-making process. He called that game from up in the booth. They said that he makes the decision in the booth or not. As a first-time play caller, I think he's trying to get a feel for where works better for him. He wanted to be able to see the game from up high. I reckon in NRG he might be on the sideline. But yeah, big props to the offensive scheme. And with that, I think that's about all I really want to cover about that. Got to kind of wrap up. I'm a family man. My wife's about to head home, so I need to make sure I'm ready to receive. But let me see. Quick things to bring up. Instagram chat's going off, so let me run through that real quick. I guess we'll answer this one last question because I want to make sure we cover it. But how do y'all feel about the rookie wide receivers throughout training camp and the first preseason game? Jalen Knoll, explosive. Jaden Higgins, I didn't really get to see a lot from him in the game. I mean, he did make a couple catches. He looked good. There was nothing to be mad about from Jaden Higgins, but Jalen Knoll flashed hard. I mean, he got the few opportunities he got, he was explosive. So that's my thoughts. Tom, what about you?
I'm trying to put them in the same bucket with Ursary, right? I love what I see from them. I think those 3 guys are going to be a talking points for a lot of people, whether we see them or don't see them or how much or what they get to do. It'll be interesting. Right now, those guys, for me, I don't know how they get on the field in a regular season game, but they're going to be monsters right now. I mean, I feel the same way about them, the way I felt about Hutch, the way I felt about Mechie, those guys could be really good. I'm just trying not to get too high or too low with them right now until they do it on Sunday.
Yeah. Speaking of Hutch and Mechie, that's a discussion I want to save till later in the preseason. I want to get your thoughts on that, but we'll wait till we've seen a little more because I'm that if there's one position battle that is really intriguing to me, just because of how much we've put in the Mechie and Hutch bucket, it's the bottom of the depth chart for wide receiver. To me, is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. The last thing is we had a comment that says, y'all the cool guys doing the home opener ticket giveaway. I did not. I don't think I'm going to do one. Last year I know I did one. This year I don't think the home opener is going to be a giveaway. I'll be transparent about it. I don't really have to be, but one of the reasons I'm able to do ticket giveaways is because, believe it or not, some of the Texans tickets are worth more money than others, and so I make up the difference for the tickets that I give away by selling the higher price tickets, which would be, a Monday Night Football game for the home opener is going to be a higher price ticket. So that's going to cover my ability to give away tickets to another game. I think last year I was able to do 3 giveaways, which was huge because I covered, so I got my tickets again this year. So I'm looking to try and give away a similar amount of tickets this season. So there you go. For those who are wondering, I do have a ticket giveaway live for the preseason game this weekend. I'm going to pull the winner for that on Friday afternoon. So make sure you enter for that. That's on Instagram. Showing Instagram some love because the Twitter followers have been getting all the training camp ticket giveaways. So thought I'd throw the preseason tickets in that direction. But yeah. All right, Tom, any final thoughts before we bring this thing to a close?
Looking forward to tomorrow. Looking forward to next week. I'll have all the recap, all the stuff. I'm not going to do the whole boots on the ground thing because I think as a veteran, I feel like that's
you are boots on the ground though.
I'm going to be tennis shoes on the ground. That's what I'm going to be. I'm going to be Brooks.
You're not going to wear your boots from your days in the service?
Brooks on the ground. It's not going to be boots. Absolutely not.
You heard it here first. Tom is going to be wearing his what's the brand? His Belleville boots.
They're in the closet, but they are way heavy. Mine had to be steel toe.
Steel toe. He's going to be extra safe out there with boots on the ground. This has been your favorite veteran-run Texans podcast, The Bullpen. Thanks for tuning in. Tell a friend, and let's get this to be not only the number one veteran-owned Texans podcast, but also the number one Texans podcast. In case you're into baseball, the Orioles just walked off the Mariners, so the Astros now have regained their 1-game lead in the division.
Yes.
Big stuff happening for Houston sports.
Way to go, O's.
Right. My mom's originally from Baltimore, so that's not a hard sentence to say. She grew up going to those games and stuff. Let's see. I have been James Roy. You can find me at James Roy NFL on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you get your social media. Tom is Third Coast Tom. He's on Instagram at TCTom1 and Twitter at Third Coast Tom. So make sure that you're following us so you can keep up with the show. We're doing Wednesday lives through the preseason, just once a week. Get together, chat, talk Texans, and then once the season starts, I'm hoping we can keep the lives going, but we'll definitely be adding the recaps and previews. So make sure you're tuned in for those. Those will be on YouTube and available on the podcast feed. Also, if you are late to getting into this, you don't want to watch it, you want to listen to it the next day, I'll have this audio up on the RSS feed tomorrow morning. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. As always, thanks for tuning into The Bullpen. Stay classy, Houston, and vamos Texans.